Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy.
Let's start diving in to LSU and Alabama. That's the game that you all want to hear about at this point. And when we looked at this Alabama team entering the season, we were at media days in camp doing some preseason prognostication on what Alabama was going to look like. I think we all looked at their roster and said, okay, this is a team that's probably going to start Jalen Miller at quarterback, who's not the passer that Bryce Young and Mac Jones and Tua have been. He's an elite athlete. Would stand to reason he would be a pretty big factor in their run game. And you looked at their offensive line and you went, wow, this is a pretty big unit here. They're going to be a heavy run football team that may have to find its way through the air. And you thought that no matter what identity this Alabama offense took, that the offensive line would be the backbone of it. And the offensive line has had its issues, quite frankly. Now you look at what they've got up front, and it made sense that we thought this would be a great unit that imposed its will on people. Kaden Proctor is going to start at left tackle on Saturday night. 6'7", 360-pound true freshman from the state of Iowa. He was a five-star, top five player nationally last year. Big try for Kirk Ferentz and the crew in Iowa City, but they couldn't keep him out of Tuscaloosa. But he struggled. There's just really no two ways about it. He's allowed 5 sacks in his last 3 games. Some of the issues have been physical for him. Some of the issues have been mental. If you watch the Tennessee game, for example, he gave up a pair of sacks in that game. One, he just got bull rushed right into Jalen Milroe's lap. I mean, just knocked right into Jalen Milroe's lap. One time, Tennessee really telegraphs a rusher off of his side, the offensive left side. The guy comes free, and Proctor blocked down and then realized that he wasn't supposed to be there and immediately turned his head, and the Tennessee guy was right by him for an easy sack. That's not a physical mishap. That's just not knowing where to be, and you would expect that at times from a true freshman. LSU played 2 true freshman tackles last year. You have your lumps, and Kaden Proctor has taken his to this point. And last week, Alabama lined a tight end next to him, not like in the slot, like next to his left side, on 33 of their 64 snaps. So better than half of their snaps, they're giving him a little bit of help. Tyler Booker is the left guard. He's 6'5", 352 pounds. He was a top 10 player in the country, played 12 games last year, started at right guard. Now he's their starting left guard. But you look at those two guys. That is 712 pounds of man on the offensive left side. 712 pounds. On the offensive left side. Seth McLaughlin is a senior center, started 3 games in 2021, 8 in 2022, 8 this year. He's a real veteran at 6'4", 300 pounds. Darian Delcourt is their right guard, 6'3", 200. He played in 7 football games in 2019. He's been around just a little bit. And then you look out at right tackle, and that's where J.C. Latham plays. 6'6", 360. He's a junior. He was the number 2 player in the nation coming out of high school, and has played for 3 years now in Tuscaloosa. But you look at 3 of these guys. Proctor at 6'7", 360. Booker at 6'5", 352. And Latham at 6'6", 300. All 3 of those guys are bigger than Lance Hurd. And for you, those of you that have been to games in Tiger Stadium this year or seen LSU play in person, even if you're watching on TV, you know how massive Lance Hurd is. These 3 guys are bigger than him. This is a huge, huge offensive line group. But as I mentioned, they've had some issues. They've allowed the most sacks in the SEC, 35 of them. They've allowed 55 tackles for loss. That is 4th most in the SEC. If you look at them trying to run the football, it's been okay. Against Texas, 35 carries for $107. That's 3 yards a pop. That's not exactly lighting it up. Ole Miss, 45 carries for 131 yards. That's under 3 yards a carry, 2.9. At A&M, they just couldn't flat run the ball at all. Stop trying. 26 carries for 23 yards. They just couldn't run it at all. Now, Milroe was great. He threw for 300 plus. They won the game, but they couldn't run it. Against Arkansas, not exactly, the 85 Bears here, 42 carries for 177. That's 4.2 yards per carry. But you don't see any of these 330-yard efforts, 287-yard efforts that we've come accustomed to with some of the Alabama rushing attacks that we've seen. And you know they're having a little bit of trouble protecting the passer. So that entire synopsis of young left tackle and issues, having given up sacks. I mean, you look at the Tennessee game when they played the Vols. They gave up 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Against Arkansas, 5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. Against A&M, 8 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. South Florida got back there for 5 sacks. South Florida also had 5 QB hurries in that game. Like, teams are getting back into the backfield. The question is, can LSU do it? If this is a traditional LSU team, you would say, well, they shouldn't have much issue. Probably got a couple of top 2-round picks on your defensive front. Probably one of the 5 or 6 best run defenses in the SEC. That's not the case with this LSU team. They're 13th in the SEC in sacks, and they've just got 14 of those. They're 12th in the SEC in tackles for loss. So near the bottom of the barrel for LSU in both of those categories. We're talking about all the issues that LSU's got in the back end of the defense with injuries and whatnot. But the question is, can you win up front? Now, I would have told you entering the season, if you said, okay, LSU's going to have one of the worst defenses in the league, and you're going to have to go against that Alabama offensive line, I would have said, oh, well, that's a major problem. Question is, is it? Now, Mekhi Wing goes out in this game, and you're going to have a sub there, and likely Jordan Jefferson. But Mason Smith looks to be a little bit healthier, and you've got some veterans there on the edge. Brian Kelly met with the media on Monday and talked about what kind of defensive line he expects to put out on the field on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think Jordan Jefferson's playing at a high level. It's graded out probably as our best defensive tackle. Physical at the point of attack, uses his hands well. It's getting great separation. Gap integrity has been outstanding. It's playing really well. Parashan, technically very, very good. Grading out at the top for our defensive line over the last 3 weeks. And Swinson's been really good in pass rush. So those 3 guys, as much as it hurts that, we don't have a few of the guys that we got in the portal at the defensive back position, those 3 guys, and having Omar back too, makes a difference. Having a veteran linebacker who knows the game really well, those 4 guys have made a significant difference for us.
Because you look back at some of the games LSU has played to this point, and even though Missouri's 116 yards don't look gaudy, they kind of ran it whenever they wanted to. Had a running back to go over 100 yards. They gashed LSU on the ground. Ole Miss had a field day on this LSU defensive front. 49 carries for 317 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe might throw for 330 and 4 touchdowns on Saturday. He might not. I'd like to see them try that. You just can't let Alabama turn around and run it right down your throats. You just can't. LSU has got to find a way to slow Alabama down on the ground and make Jalen Milroe into a mid-range passer. Now, he may eat a depleted secondary up. I don't know. But if you start by losing on the ground game and then you start having to creep guys up, and then you let Milroe throw the deep ball, it's just going to be lights out. It will be lights out. LSU has to find a way to do what South Florida did, and Texas A&M did, and Tennessee did for the most part, and really Ole Miss, who only gave up 24 points. Hold your own at the point of attack, make some potentially game-changing plays in the backfield, which Alabama allows at a rate higher than anybody in the SEC, and see if you can't put Jalen Milroe into some 3rd and 13s. That's about all I got for you as far as potential advantages when Alabama has the football. But there's hope there because there have been some issues. Harold Perkins, meet Kaden Proctor, the freshman left tackle. See what you can do. Perkins, athletically, got a pretty significant advantage there. Now, in terms of size, he's given up 120 pounds. But quickness and athleticism, see what you can do. It's going to be one of the places on the field that I think LSU can make a difference in this game it should be a fascinating matchup come Saturday night in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.